Alright, so hopefully you've all seen my comment on my most recent video. Um, but yes, Keith has the whole week off work, so um, we will probably most likely have to wait until next week. I'm guessing Monday, maybe. It totally depends. But I'm kind of shooting for next Monday, fingers crossed, to get the video to get recorded and uploaded and all that. So keep your eyes out for that. Um, Other than that, I just want to let you guys know. I have I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I had gone in for an interview with earlier this week with Tesco, which is kind of like a grocery store slash convenience store um, right up on High Street. So, and it's like, it's always hard to tell. At least in my opinion, it's always hard to tell whether interviews go well or not. But, let's just say, as far as I came to be concerned, the interview went well. However, there were a couple of issues. Number one, and this first one isn't that big of a deal, but like, I went in, there was a worker working on, I'm assuming, restocking they have like a meal deal section right up at the front of the store where you can get like a sandwich, you get a pack of crisps, you can get a candy bar or whatever, and it's like a little meal deal, and they give you kind of a it's kind of like going to like McDonald's and getting a combo meal. It's like cheaper if you buy the meal with like the burger, the fries, and the drink. So it's kind of like that, at least from what I assume. Um, from what I remember Keith telling me, and from what I remember from buying a couple of them over my time here. But yeah, so I walked right up to the guy and said, I have because my interview was at like 10 a.m. So I was like, I have a 10 o'clock interview with, and I gave the name of the person who I'd gotten the email from and said, ask for this person. And so they were like, oh yeah, come along with me. So they took me to where the registers were, and they had me sign in on a paper form, just my name, the time I arrived, and what I was there for. And then he started taking me to the back, and somebody else was coming out, and this person was like, hey, can you take her down to, she's here for an interview. And so I got taken down. My first problem, keep in mind, I'm walking sick, and sometimes have issues with walking up and down stairs. So, but yeah, there was no lift, at least as far as I'm aware, there was no lift to go to go down to I always call it the innards of the employee only area of the store. And, it just fascinates me. It's just kind of like, but anyway, the steps were made of metal. And so immediately right away I was like, oh, if I fall on this, that's gonna hurt. Like more than normal stairs would hurt. But anyway, so we get down the stairs, she takes me into where the break room is, where people sit for their lunch or their breaks or whatever. And so I'm just sitting there and I get on my phone and I start scrolling Instagram because I'm there like early. I got there like 9:50 and my interview wasn't until 10. So I got there early, which is always a good thing, But then I had to laugh because I waited, it was like 10:14, 10:15 before, and it wasn't even the person who I had the interview with. Somebody came in the room, saw me sitting there, probably noticed I wasn't wearing a uniform. I wasn't expected, so it was like, excuse me, are you here for an interview? And I was like, yeah, I was, I gave the name again. And he said, well, hold on a sec, I'll go get him. And so he went up, got the manager. The manager came down soon after that and go, and, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. You get busy, and this guy was apparently the store manager, because that's the office he took me into to, interview me. And so I was like, oh, okay. So he's the head boss. He's the one in charge, and stuff. And so I was like, I just walked in, was talking to him. I had a copy of my resume and all that. My CV, sorry, I keep calling it the American thing. And so the funny thing was that he definitely, like I said, the interview went well, as far as I thought. He asked me, like, the typical questions. He asked, he did the whole, tell me about a time when this happened and all that. And I personally always draw from, like, certain jobs. Like, I'll say, oh, this happened to me when I worked at this job, and then I'll go into it and explain what happened and what I did. So, talked to him, everything went fine. He was perfectly friendly, very nice, all that. And then afterwards, he said, well, thank you for coming in. You should know by the end of this week, if not before. And so I was like, okay, that sounds good. I shook his hand and all that, and then made my way back up the stairs and basically walked back home, because by the time I got out there, it was around lunchtime, and I was like, I'm kind of hungry, So I walked home, got something to eat and stuff. And so, but yeah, it was interesting. Like I said, I thought the interview went really well. So I've been checking my email every day because I gave my email address, or I was like, you know, maybe they'll text me, And so it turns out, let me see if I can find it. So my application status. Also, I'm not going to show you, but look how tiny that font is. That is very tiny font. So let me see. So it's like, we appreciate the time and effort you took to meet with us. It seems working hours or other requirements for this position do not fit your current circumstances. And that goes into, if you're interested, please continue to check our where we post the jobs and everything. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, and that's the other thing is kind of toward the end of the interview, I made mention that I'm not so much an early bird. Like, one of the listed hours for this job was to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. That would mean I would have to get up at like 3:30 or something in order to get ready and to get dressed and put makeup on, do my hair, all that stuff, and then walk from here to, the store. And so I just mentioned that because, like, I'm looking for more midday, or, like, they had their other shift was for like 7 in the morning to like whatever. And I was like, I could handle coming in at 7 in the morning a lot better than I could handle coming in at 5, which means I would probably have to be there about 4:30, 4:45, something like that. And it's like, no, thank you. I've always been kind of a night owl. I've always been I'm always more willing to work later in the day than I am, Well, apparently that's what they were looking for. Because what they were doing was they were looking for various people to come in and, to like, they were just going to hire various people, and then apply shifts based on whatever. And so I just thought, I'm just going to mention I don't really prefer the early morning shift. So apparently that's what they needed people for. And so, or apparently you're supposed to be really open to be flexible and coming in at like early and stuff. And like, that's fine, because with that and the stairs and no way for me to get down there without having to go slow, because there's no way I'm rushing up and down those stairs. I've already done that at Kohl's. I remember working at Kohl's and over the holidays, and like trying to hold on, because this was before I had my walking stick and before I knew that I had a bit of a disability. So I just remember grabbing onto both sides of because they had banisters on both sides. And so I remember trying to go down hold on to the banisters, but then other people would want to come down past me or come up the other way, and it's like, eh. So, I don't want to get yelled at for being, for taking too long to, get clocked in, get ready, get my badge on, whatever, for my shift and all that. So, we're on the hunt again. But yeah, so it's not bad. I'm a little disappointed. Because, like I said, I thought the interview went pretty well. But, yeah, apparently they were looking for more early morning people. And since I said I wasn't interested in that, they're probably like, yeah, we probably shouldn't, And like I said, that's fine. That's their right. They have, every right to be able to hire people to do the jobs that they need, So, but we are on the hunt again. So far, there hasn't been anything else that jumped out at me. But also, Keith has gone off to do a little bit of shopping, so I decided, this would be a perfect time to record a quick update and let you guys all know that I haven't dropped off the face of the world. That I am instead, because like I said, I still feel a little awkward about trying to do this when Keith's sitting right there. Also keep in mind that he tends to notice because I have headphones I use that Keith got me to wear when I'm online watching videos or whatever, listening to music or podcasts, that kind of thing. And that he's been the one up until recently to really notice. And it's like, your headphones aren't connected, are they? Because I can hear you, And so I always try to be a bit more, when he's here, I try to not be talking. Although still sometimes I will catch myself, because I do tend to either sing out loud if there's music that I like, or, sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's interesting, or whatever, And usually it's no big deal. Keith will either not notice because he's too into what he's watching, or he'll be like, what? Did you say something bad? And I'll be like, no, I was just commenting on what I was watching. And sometimes we'll talk about it, sometimes we won't, just kind of depends. That does remind me, the other thing I want to do, one of the things I have been slowly doing since moving here has been watching movies I haven't been able to go see. I watched all the Deadpool movies, including the most recent one, the Deadpool with Wolverine movie, which I really liked, by the way. But there's another movie that I've always wanted to see that I've never been able to. It's called Rise of the Guardians. It's basically about the origin story of Jack Frost and how he kind of helps defeat a bad guy and all that stuff. And so I've always wanted to see that, but I've never I've either never been home when it's been on, or I haven't been able to watch it, or something. So I don't know. I just find it kind of interesting. It's like, okay. So I told Keith about it, and I said maybe we could watch together sometime. And so probably when I log off for you guys, we have a little TV in our room, so probably turn on, see if I can locate it, see if I can find out where I can watch it. And, but yeah, so that's been kind of fun. So yeah, I've been basically job hunting this week. I've been, looking to see if I hear back from Tesco, which I did, and, all that. And so, but yeah, my first interview, as far as I know, went pretty well. But it's always hard to tell because a lot of it, it's like some managers are very good at being like keeping everything on the inside, and it's like keeping their opinions on the inside and everything. And so it's like I don't know what the person who I interviewed with thought about me. Whatever, but anyway, so we'll just keep looking and see how it goes. But yeah, so the main purpose of me making this video is to let you guys know that I'm shooting for Monday, but just in case something happens and I can't do it Monday, then it will be sometime next week. I can promise you that we will finish up Scarlet Hollow. We will do episode 5, the rest of episode 5, and that will be it for now. Now, we may come back to it sometime in the future, but we've had 3 playthroughs of it, so I think, well, and it's interesting because technically we could go back and play it again, try different traits and all that, but I don't know, I kind of want to play something else, but I don't know quite what yet. So anyway, if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments, or like the video, if I bring up a particular game that you guys think, oh, that would be interesting, or whatever. But yeah, so in the meantime, it is almost lunchtime, so I'm gonna log off, make myself something to eat, and I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys are having a good week either way, and I'll talk to you soon.